Any person's life consists of space that is taken up, filled up by people and things. Relationships in and of themselves. That's the reality of it. If you have a bunch of people and things that are taking up space in your life that are unhealthy, imagine what would happen if you were to purge your life of all of that stuff. I want to focus on something specifically here that I think is fascinating, and I will utilize actual things, or I should say something in my life that is happening to paint a picture, to illustrate what it is that I'm talking about here. There's a certain type of music that I had listened to for a very long time. I'm not going to say what type of music it was, because I prefer to keep a lot of this stuff boundaried. It's just my preference in terms of what I'm doing for myself, in terms of healing, all of that. With this specific music that I had listened to for a long time, I decided that I wanted to taste something different. And so I pretty much completely stopped listening to this specific type of music. And with that, I have noticed something. And what I've noticed is that, and I don't know like the facts here, I don't know, the truth of any kind of like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, look what happened. Like, the universe brought all these things into my life, all of these different elements into my life. I appreciate evidence-based stuff. I do. I vibe a lot more with evidence-based stuff. I enjoy magic in life. I enjoy believing that there are like synchronicities. I enjoy believing that there is a tone of life that, it's kind of like a math equation. I kind of like to look at life as like a math equation. 1 plus 1 will always equal 2, no matter what. But it's fun to experiment and try different things with, different math equations and to see what happens. And I believe that the same can be said about a person's life. If you have a math equation in front of you, and it doesn't matter what it is, but if you take out one element and you put in another one, you're going to get another outcome. That's the reality of it. 1 plus 1 will always equal 2, but 1 plus 5 or 1 plus 6 will not always equal 6. Will not always equal 2. It will equal either 6 or 7. That's the reality of it. It changes. Your life changes based on whatever math equation you're working with. If 1 plus 1 equaling 2 ends up being, I don't know, far too like monotoned and bland after a while, if you were to take out the 1 and add a 5 or add a 6 and it becomes 1 plus 5 equals 6 or 1 plus 6 equals 7, it changes. And things can get pretty interesting. Now, I do believe, this is just a belief, I do believe that if you have had a bunch of stuff in your life for a very long time, if you've had a bunch of people in your life for a very long time, and say, for instance, you recognize that stuff or that people and you're like, oh, wow, that is based in trauma. That is based in survival. That is just a reinforcement of a belief of pain and unworthiness within the self. And then you go and say, okay, well, I'm going to take that out and I'm going to put this in. When I say it is fucking wild how fast your life can change if you take X out and put Y in. If previously what you were working with was 1 plus 1 equals 2, and it will always equal that. You know it. It is predictable. It is comfortable and familiar. What if you were to do 1 plus 6 equals 7? What does 7 look like for you? What does it look like for you to remove? And I'm not saying that this shit happens overnight. When it comes to dealing with your own personal trauma, this stuff, I would argue at least, does not change overnight. You can tell yourself a million fucking times in the mirror that you are worthy. It doesn't mean that you're going to actually believe it. Because if you tell yourself a million fucking times in the mirror that you're worthy, but you're simultaneously keeping people in your life that reinforce a belief that you are unworthy, nothing changes. Imagine you are keeping people in your life that are a reinforcement of your belief that you are unworthy. Your life's not going to change. And it's also challenging to get rid of those people, to purge those people of your life. You're allowed to, by the way. It's not me giving you permission. It's just the fucking reality of it. You get to choose what's in your life. Nobody else. You are the determiner. It's that simple. But even if you do purge your life of all of these unhealthy elements and objects, whether it's a thing or a person, if you start to have people in your life that are like, oh yeah, you are worthy. Oh yeah, you are worthy. It's only going to make sense when you believe it. And that requires you to do a fuck ton of work on yourself. Quite honestly, that's the reality of it. The outside is a reflection of the inside. As within, so without. I can imagine people have heard that said. But it can be fun to approach your life from a standpoint of just trying different mathematical equations. Let me put this into perspective real quick. Unworthiness plus unworthiness equals unworthiness. 1 plus 1 will always equal 2. And when you believe that you're unworthy and you have reinforcements of your life, you have reinforcements in your life of the belief that you are unworthy, oh my god, the unworthiness is going to be fucking blinding. Yeah, clearly you're unworthy. You can't see yourself. Your eyes are closed. But then when you open them, when you actually do the work on yourself, and you start to play with different numbers and stuff, just consider your life like an experiment of different mathematical equations. I really hope that this metaphor is helpful in describing how fun it can be to not only do the work on yourself, but also to look at your life, look at the people, look at the things in your life, and be like, huh, okay, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Okay, unworthiness plus unworthiness equals unworthiness. This is me. This is, and it doesn't even have to be that this is you and this is someone else. It can be different things. It doesn't, let's watch, say for instance, this first digit is you. You see yourself as unworthy. You choose an object to reinforce your unworthiness. Therefore, unworthiness is the outcome. It is best to do work on yourself, because if you don't do work on yourself, the outside's not going to change. You're not going to choose objects, referring to people and of course things, that have you believing that you are worthy if you believe that you are unworthy, because it just doesn't work that way. You have to believe first and foremost that you are worthy, and that requires you doing work on yourself. And I'm not going to say that it's not going to change over time if you regularly look at yourself in the mirror and be like, yo, you are worthy, you are awesome, you're cool, you got this. It could. I'm not here to say what does and doesn't work for everyone. Everyone's different. You test different things. But this is the magic of life. When you, imagine, imagine that your life is a massive fucking mathematical equation that's just fucking complex as shit, but the outcome is emotional pain. The outcome is shame. The outcome is, I didn't even try to make that rhyme, but that rhymed. The outcome is unworthiness. imagine that you can become aware of it and be like, wait a second, there's just like this mathematical equation in front of me. There are these mathematical equations in front of me. Wow, this is super interesting. So if I take out 1 and I put in a 5, I take out the other 1 and I put in another 5, what does 10 look like? What does that look like? And when I say mathematical equations, let's not just look at numbers. Let's also look at colors. When you mix colors together, when you do yellow and red and the outcome is orange, what does orange feel like? What's the experience like? What are the things? What are the people? Maybe you've been listening to music your entire life that has reinforced a belief that you deserve to be hurt. It doesn't make the music good or bad or right or wrong, but it does reinforce a belief of unworthiness in you. And it's likely that you've been listening to that music for a very long fucking time. It probably started in childhood to be a mirror of all of the things in your life that were painful based on the trauma. But are you aware? Are you aware that you are the driver of these equations? Are you aware that you get to become aware of these equations and be like, okay, let's try that. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's interesting. That's super cool. I like the way that it vibes. I like the way that it feels. It makes me feel alive. Oh, wait a second. I'm not actually unworthy. This was just a learned belief from a survival-based childhood with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, where I actually did not get healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation. Holy fucking shit. Look at this universe of potentials. Look at all this exploration that I get to do. Life is kind of like just working with different mathematical equations. And again, it's not just numbers. What about colors? What about tastes? Different elements. An equation consists of different elements when you look at it for what it is. What if you become aware that you're just not happy with your life? Maybe you're not even happy with yourself. It's okay. You don't have to be hard on yourself. I recommend that if you're going to approach this process, if you're even curious about this, I recommend to be gentle with yourself. You have been through a lot. It doesn't matter who you are. You've been through a lot. You can be gentle with yourself. And it's best to, because when you are gentle with yourself, you see yourself in a more wholesome way. You can cry. You're allowed to. You can get angry. You're allowed to. You are allowed to feel whatever you need to feel. That's entirely your boundary or your boundaries. But what if you were to purge your life of everything? The people that are in your life, do you actually want them there? It's up to you. You can become aware of that. The things that are in your life, do you actually want them there? Whatever it is that you're doing in your life, do you actually want it there? I do believe that because, well, first and foremost, I'll end off with this just to make this very clear. It's been proven through science that everything in this universe is energy. Everything in this universe consists of energy, including you and I. That has been proven through science. And with that, if you take a box and you fill it with a bunch of stuff, that box is going to look a very certain way. Not that your life is a box, but what if your life is really no different? What if your life consists of space that you have just filled stuff with? People, things, whatever it is. What if that's what your life is? And what if you want to change your life? And you could actually understand that, well, if changing my life requires, first and foremost, me to change, but secondly, me to choose differently of what is in my life, what if then all that's required is for me to purge? And there are a bunch of different theories too. There are a bunch of different ideas. It's like when you start thinking differently, you start seeing differently, and you start attracting differently. I believe that. I do. I think that that's real. So if that's the case, what if you were to purge all of these fucking mathematical equations that just, they're drying you the fuck out. They're exhausting you. They're just not working out for you anymore. What if you were to clear out, what if you were to purge all of these mathematical equations that create your life, not only the foundation, but all of the clutter that has taken up space in your life? What if you were to purge all of those, and then all of this new information then becomes available to you? It's wild to think about that, isn't it? Imagine if you were to just purge everything from your life, and then all of a sudden, all these new and different elements start appearing. I'll use YouTube as a metaphor for this because I think it's very interesting. Have you ever seen something on YouTube, like you decided to click on a video, and then all of a sudden, like, the algorithm just fucking floods your feed with all of these new and different elements? I kind of see life as like when you purge all of these mathematical equations that have taken up space in your life for fucking ever, what then happens energetically? Well, you've just freed up space. Look at it in like a computer. What happens when a computer gets fucking congested with a bunch of files? With, like say for instance the computer is 250 gigabytes, or maybe for instance the computer is like 1 terabyte, 1,000 gigabytes, but all of that space is taken up, but it's taken up by things that are unwanted, that are comfortable and familiar, that are actually painful, that are not fun, that are just based in the trauma of the childhood. All of these different people, all of these different things, all of these different elements, all of these different mathematical equations, you just fucking wipe it clean. That computer is going to run fucking fast. And now, I'm not saying, let me make this very clear, I'm not saying that you can just fucking purge your life and your life will be forever changed. You have a lot of inner work to do. The internal fabric of you can change, but there's a lot of inner work that you have to do. But when you purge, when you purge these different things in your life, you free up a fuck ton of space. And it's up to you if you even decide to purge. It's up to you. This is your life. Are you aware of what you're choosing? Are you aware of why you're choosing it? What do you want? What have you been holding on to because it's comfortable and familiar? Do you actually like the music that you listen to? Do you actually like the people that you keep in your life? Do you actually like the things that you're doing? Or are they all just comfortable and familiar to your survival-based childhood, if you did have a survival-based childhood? With fight, flight, freeze, fawn, if you did not get a healthy childhood, if instead you were raised to be something that somebody else wanted from you rather than what it is that you wanted yourself. Your life consists of you over and over again recreating something multiple times with multiple different mathematical equations in different arrays. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of the different numbers and the different colors and the different scents, the different smells, the different tastes that you are incorporating into your life in different areas? Are you aware that if you were to become aware of everything that's there and maybe realize that you don't actually like it, you don't actually want it, if you were to clear all of that out. And by the way, I'm not looking at this as an all or nothing, a black or white thing. Um, this is not from a standpoint of emotional immaturity. I understand that it could probably look like that, but this is much more from a standpoint of awareness. You can do whatever you want to. And when I say that, what I'm referring to is that in this life, you can do whatever you want to. In this life, you can become aware of what is in your life, and you can choose whatever you want to. If you don't like what's there, you can change it. I'll end off with this. As I've decided to change the music that I listen to, I've noticed that I am discovering music that is literally like it's fucking awesome. It's very easy to get comfortable and familiar with everything that has been in your life and to just subconsciously and unconsciously continue to choose it because it's comfortable and familiar. And it can be very scary for a lot of people to decide to actually purge and get rid of everything that's been there. Yeah, I understand it. I have empathy and compassion for people. Um, I understand. I understand. And I am being gentle with people here. I'm just exploring an idea. You get to choose. You have free human agency. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of your autonomy? You are an individual. With that, and I mean, I will end off with this. You are an individual. Are you aware of your own sense of individuality? Are you aware of your own sense of boundaried self-expression? And when I say boundaried, what I'm referring to is, how do you express yourself? That is your boundaries. Nobody else gets to tell you how to do it. Doesn't matter who you were raised by. It doesn't matter what they said. That in and of itself is essentially a prison. It's a matrix. Just like I said in, I don't think it was yesterday's video, maybe in the video before, 2 days ago. What are you choosing and why? That's the question to ask yourself. What are you choosing and why?